I realized that I would be trading a lot of comfort for freedom, and I was okay with that. I call it a Speak Easy Appliance cabinet. It could very easily be converted into a liquor cabinet if that's your thing. So I'm really big on systems that allow you to be off-grid for long periods of time. One of the ways to accomplish that is utilizing your engine. Hey, I'm Josh. This is my van, Boondocker 3.0. Come on in, take a look. We're in the kitchen area. I really like to cook, but even more importantly, I really like to eat. This whole van is centered around cooking and eating. The fridge right here is a Isotherm Cruise 195, which is one of the biggest refrigerators on the market. So this whole bottom area is a freezer, and this whole top area is a fridge. It's definitely not great on power. I don't recall the exact amps it uses. It actually has two separate compressors, so it isn't the best. It's basically like running two refrigerators at the same time. Next to the refrigerator is a shower. It's a foldable shower from Tetra van. This is the shower diverter, and then the shower head is inside here. It's kind of like a marine setup inside. The way that it works is it folds down, and the shower curtain connects to these magnets up here in the ceiling, and that's it. And when you're done, you let the curtain dry for an hour, and then once it's dry, you fold it back up, put it back in here, and it's good to go. I also have an outdoor shower when the weather's nice, but when it's really cold outside, this shower really comes in handy. By putting my shower here, it's only about 6 inches deep. I had a big dead space back here, and I didn't want appliances just sitting on my counter while I'm driving. So I have installed this, I call it a Speak Easy Appliance cabinet. It could very easily be converted into a liquor cabinet if that's your thing. Again, I like to cook, I like to eat, so I wanted my appliances easily accessible, and that's why I put appliances here. This is my sink here. I have a cutting board that fits in the sink. This is a laundry sink. It's 11 inches deep. It's probably a lot deeper than what most people would typically put in their van, but I really dislike doing dishes. So I like building them up and letting them sit for a few days before I get to doing them. I've had this shower faucet in all three of my vans. I really enjoy it. It's a pull-out faucet, which really comes in handy. Put a soap dispenser in here, and I also have a reverse osmosis water filter with UV filtration as well, and that's in here. So I don't need to bring water with me. And then this is a switch for my water heater, which I'll talk about a little bit. This water heater runs off of my coolant while I'm driving. So it reroutes the coolant from the engine all the way back to the water heater behind this cabinet, and then it sends it back to the engine. So every time I drive, I have hot water. I don't need to worry about turning the hot water heater on. It does have an electrical element that is hooked up to this switch. So if I'm parked for a very long time, I can turn that on, or I can idle the van, and that will heat the water as well. I have a induction cooktop, double induction cooktop from Furrion. I like this more than propane. I had propane in my second van, and I didn't like it because it created this kind of like humid heat inside the van. This cooktop doesn't create any additional heat in the van. It only heats the pot. Okay, and then I also have in this cabinet a convection oven. It's like a 13-in-1 convection oven. I mean, it does like tons of stuff. This is where I'm keeping my spices here. So while I'm cooking, they're easily accessible. And then this is where I keep some of my pots and pans and plates and stuff like that. I was living in Miami. I was just sold my company. I was kind of living a Miami lifestyle of excess, and I was getting kind of bored. And I was starting to do a lot of outdoor trips on the weekends. I just decided one day that I was kind of wasting my time in Miami, and I wanted to spend all my time outdoors. Ultimately, I just kind of came across van life, and I said, you know what, I think I could do that, and that's for me. And I realized that I would be trading a lot of comfort for freedom, and I was okay with that. In 2016, I decided to build out my first van. I found it and hit the road, and at that time, I reached out to a friend named Zach who had a blog that I used while building out my first van, a blog that taught you how to build out vans. And so at that point, decided to partner up with Zach and open up Van Life Outfitters. And the premise of the store would be kind of like a carefully curated catalog of products that were the things that we would use in our vans. Yeah, we started that in 2020 and it's going great. We're pretty much the top or one of the top resources on the internet for building out your van. I haven't actually seen this done a lot, but I put the booth area in this area because I wanted to be able to sit down and open the door and just feel like I'm outside even though I'm inside. This seat is actually a urine diverting composting toilet. Yeah, so my first two vans, I really hated dumping out the pee jug. So this actually just diverts the urine into a tank under the van and you can dump it in at a black water station. And so over here, I have a laundry storage here. So this is was a dead space that I knew that I was going to use for laundry. This is just some upper storage. This one back here is clothing storage. This is easily enough storage for probably two people. It's very comfortable for one person. I'm really not even utilizing all of the storage. This is a full-size bed. It's 55 by 75. I purposely put my bed about 6 or 8 inches lower than what a typical person would. And the reason I did that is because I like to be able to sit up in bed. We got the fan there. It's a marine fan. I use that a lot. It's kind of like a supplemental breeze while you're sleeping. All of my light switches and fan control and heater control are right here, so I can reach them all from bed. I specifically put my max fan here over the bed instead of the air conditioner because I'm using my fan 75% of the time, and I'm only using the air conditioner about 3 months a year. It's 12,000 BTUs, and it is super, super efficient. It uses anywhere from like 18 to 50 amps, depending on what mode you're in and what the ambient temperature is. It is, in my opinion, one of the best 12-volt air conditioners on the market, and I'm super, super happy with it. In terms of cost, the van was $55,000 to buy. As far as the build out, so I built my first two vans out myself, but with my third van, I was way too busy running Van Life Outfitters to do it myself. And so I hired a friend who has a van building company in Sarasota named Lubercraft, and he is, in my opinion, the best builder on the East Coast. He gave me a really good deal on the build. I did some of the things myself. So it's really hard to kind of put a number on the van build. I would say if you were to buy a similar van to this with all the systems that it has and the quality of the craftsmanship, you'd probably be looking at $120,000 to $150,000 for a van like this. So I'm really big on systems that allow you to be off-grid for long periods of time. One of the ways to accomplish that is utilizing your engine, because at the end of the day, your engine's just a giant generator. So with this van, I installed a secondary alternator that charges at 250 to 300 amps while you're driving. And I also have a DC to DC charger that's hooked up to my factory alternator. So I can actually charge a little bit more than that. It's really good for off-grid camping because if I ever do run out of power, as long as I have gas, I can idle my van for an hour or two or go for a drive and I'm fully recharged. I do have solar, but the solar is honestly just for show. It is basically for maintenance. You know, I could theoretically run my refrigerator and some lights off of the solar for cooking and running my fan and my air conditioner and all that stuff. I'm typically going to be using my second alternator. I have a 3,000 watt Victron inverter, a WeBoost cell signal booster. I have a Starlink for internet. I have a 130 Victron MPPT solar charge controller. The main heart of the system is two Lithionics 315 amp hour internal BMS batteries. Yeah, so you could find me at my Instagram, which is @the Boondocker, And my company is Van Life Outfitters, and our Instagram is just @VanLifeOutfitters. And that's the best way to reach me and get a hold of me, is through Van Life Outfitters or my personal Instagram. Thanks for coming and checking out my van. Now get out of here.